Hey guys, sharing out some progress I've made on the error system so far. Most of this work has been focused on compiling some of the errors that Twig has dug up and organizing them, and then coming up with like a system and a process to compose these errors. So from to rework the copy or compose new errors that we're going to inevitably encounter. So there's an organized way to create these error messages. The system will help you decide what to put in the header, what kind of stuff you put in the body, what level of specificity, how specific you want to get in the error messages, etc. Just want things to be consistent and have things to be presented in a way that it's pretty much like consistent across the entire platform. The page is organized into these 4 columns. So we'll have the error source page here on the left, which I started out by laying out errors in the block sequencer, the resource manager resource set page, resource manager selector resource, and input manager or global configs used to be called. And then on the right side, there's the triggering action or condition. So for example, some of these errors are going to be triggered when a local error is present. So this screenshot serves as the triggering condition that will make one of the pop-ups show up. And you'll see there are places where I drop these annotations like P1, P2 in the cases where 2 errors are able to be triggered simultaneously. So both conditions are met at once. And pretty much in this case, you show P1. In other cases where you're listing the errors all at once, then P1 will go first and then P2 and so on. Okay. So I'll just go, and the rest of it, the specificity layers is just a way for me to kind of like organize how the errors are being composed. And I'll go through the content of these, and then I think it'll make more sense to y'all as we go. All right, let me start from the top. So first, let's start with the block sequencer. And these are error messages that will trigger when pressing done or selecting another block when a local error is present. So for example, you selected this block and there's something wrong with the block name. There's a local validation error here. If you press done or you decide to, hit select instructions, for example, then it will try to switch context and then trigger the pop-ups. All right. In specificity layer 1, this is what things look like. We have the title, error detected in specific block, and then this, which repeats that information in the title and then also caters to the action that you were trying to do. So we have like leaving this page, pressing done, or selecting a different block, and then it'll give what's causing it, which is invalid block name. Note how it doesn't give any specifics about this. And then here's the general template for this error at this level of specificity. So you have this copy for the header, you have this copy for the first part of the body text. This is going to change depending on the action, and this is going to change depending on the name of the block. And then you list the errors out in order of priority. So specificity layer 1 looks like this. Now, this remains the same. And instead of invalid block name period, you have colon. The name must include letters or digits. And if you have 2 of them at once, you can either prioritize them like I have here, or you can list them and then prioritize them in that way. But I didn't really go too much more into this because I don't think it's a good idea in this case to go this deep. And I put a star by specificity layer 0. I think we should just stick with error messages in this level because as long as you tell them what the error is, whether it's invalid block name or another field, the actual field itself will contain the message about what's wrong with it. Like the name must include letters or digits, or the name is already in use. And we don't need to, go overboard and put that message here as well. This is just like a general kind of rule. And this is not too big of a deal because you can only have like one field, but later on, I think it's possible to have a lot of errors at once. It's just a good convention to follow. If the user can see something on the screen, there's no need to, repeat that and go one level lower in specificity. We can keep it here, and then just point the user to the actual local error here. All right, and here's what happens when they try to preview a single block or preview entire task. The structure is very similar. This is going to be the text for the title, unable to preview selected block. And here's where you put the specific error. And I think Twig mocked up a couple of errors, so I just edit the text a little bit, but the purple indicates where the things will be different. But this is like the same level of error for the this type of scenario. Here's a generic template. This is the title that we should use, and then this is just you go ahead and just describe the error and put some details in here. For previewing the entire task, it's almost identical, but now you have, instead of preview selected block, you have unable to preview task. And some of the copy down here, for example, you will say like, these blocks do not contain any child templates, and you can list the blocks instead of like the selected block doesn't contain any child templates. And same thing here, like it's plural. And these errors are going to be pointing the user out of the current context. It's just a notification, so you just press OK here, dismiss the error message, and then go into like the resource manager or wherever you need to go in order to fill these requirements. I did put these priorities on these, so in case these are all triggered at the same time, we can probably pop them all back to back. So this goes first, this goes second, and this goes third. Or we can just choose to pop the highest priority. They will fix it, come back, and if this still happens, and they will see this one. Not sure what the best thing to do is here, but if you do all three at once, then this is kind of annoying. They have to click through the stuff and remember everything. I think it might be better just to show the highest priority one, so they have one thing to focus on. They go to the page where they need to go to, fix it, come back, and then, oh, here's another thing to focus on. They do that. In this situation, I think it's going to be pretty rare, but just in case something like this happens, instead of having back-to-back pop-ups, I think it's probably better to just show the highest priority when that happens. Okay. Next, previewing the whole task when non-local error is present. Yeah, we already went over that. Same thing here. And then no block in tasks. There was an error that Twig wrote about this, but in the design, I originally had a different solution for this, which is that the task should never have no blocks. So if you delete the last block, it will just automatically repopulate with an untitled block like you see here. That way we don't have to deal with any empty states on the right side or any potential disabled states for buttons in places, and you would not have to run into this pop-up error. And here's what gets triggered by uploading a bad CSV. So the template is going to be, this is going to be the header, very general, upload failed. And you'll just describe what happened in this one. CSV failed to parse. This one, your trial object count, it's a very specific error. Pretty much, yeah, the template. And this is the newest one that I just got tagged in Jira. This is what it currently looks like in Twig's first take. So this is just kind of showing, like, if we put this type of error in the system that's laid out here, this is what it will look like. The header would be this instead of the very specific information here. And then you would just give the information down below. And let me see if there's any examples. Yeah, there's no other examples of higher specificity layer stuff here. This is just, I just did this to illustrate why we probably wouldn't want to go down this level. And I know there were some errors that Twig created that just ended up being in this column, so I needed a place to slot them. But it doesn't mean that I necessarily want to use this. I think I put a star by specificity layer 0 in all of them, because I think we should just stick to error, at least pop-up errors, at this level for these situations listed here so far. As we keep going through the screens, there might be cases where it might make sense to go down to this level. But right now, I think everything I've seen so far, this formulation makes sense. All right, let's keep going. So resource manager, resource set, errors that get triggered from this page, such as leaving the page via back, pressing done, or clicking a resource while a local error is present. So you see some same examples here. These are all field validation errors. I think this is the only errors that can actually exist on this page so far. But the pattern is very similar. We just want to use specificity layer 0. This is going to be the copy, error detected, and resource set. You have an error in the resource set name. Please fix the error before leaving this page, or whatever other action that they're going to take here. And then here's where you list the actual error. This is the only current one available, but in case we have more in the future, you would just list it in order of priority here. And then specificity layer 1 will look like this. Again, I don't think we need to do this because this information is already going to be in the local text validation, and this could easily explode into a lot of lines of text if there are a lot of errors being triggered at once. Okay. Right. So yeah, again, the pattern for this, very similar to these things that are triggered by field validations up here. And again, very similar pattern for resource manager, resource set, selected resource. If you're on this page, leaving the page via back, clicking done, or clicking on a resource while the local error is present will trigger some pop-ups. This is pretty much exactly the same as the one on top, except the copy here is just going to be reflecting the resource instead of resource set. Right, and here's an example of another one. The visual asset URL fails to resolve, and there's a P1 and P2 here, which means that if both of those happen at the same time, you would just list the P1 first and then list the P2 here. Yeah, and a lot of this system is just for me. As we run into more errors, I have like an algorithm, I guess, of like composing these. So they're not just all coming like from a case-to-case basis. That would maybe confuse the user, but with this way, then the user always kind of knows like what to expect, and things will at least just be consistent, I think. Error source page, input manager. So here I took the errors that Twig had and just listed out. This is how I like pretty much created the system. And here I'm just kind of testing what an error message will look like if certain things happen. So for the input manager in this page, pop-ups will get triggered by pressing back or done when local errors are present. I created these two local errors. So one of them is the ID is already in use, and then I made like a fake error. That's let's say you're supposed to censor bad words. I know we're not doing this, but this was the only possible error. I just wanted to try to put extra stuff here to see what it would look like according to the current system. And at P0, I think specificity layer 0, it'll look like this. Error in selected input, right? And then you have an error in the selected input. Please fix the error before leaving this page. You'll list the first error, input ID is invalid. Second error, the label text is invalid. You don't need to list out this text. That will be in layer 1, but we don't need to do that for the reasons I discussed above. And I think with this system established, I'll keep going and fill out these more hi-fi mockups for the errors that are present, and then other ones that we run into in the future, as well as the warnings and the notifications. But yeah, I think most of the work that I was doing is just kind of systemizing a way to spit out these errors, because I know we're gonna probably have a lot of these, and we don't want to do all of these on like a case-by-case basis. Let me know what you guys think. I'll probably spend some time in person to discuss this and go over the system, but hopefully this sets like a good foundation for adding new errors in the future. Cool.